It's the end of December of 1989. Christmas atmosphere is still very present in the city of New York, but you are in a comedy club on the Upper East Side. It's close to midnight and the place isn't even half packed. Suddenly, introduced to the stage is a comedian who wasn't on the bill. A surprise drop-in set will be performed by one of, if not the biggest name in comedy at the time. Comedian who in 2 months from now will sell out Madison Square Garden. Twice. If you think that you are in for a treat, think again. This is the story of one of the most controversial albums in stand-up comedy history. This is the story of The Day the Laughter Died by Andrew Dice Clay. My name is Krzysztof Sawczuk and this is Stand-Up Teka.
You know the 7, don't you?
Who are these people?
The world is like a ride.
Oh, it's brutal.
How come one comedy album can have such a split reception? When you look up information about it, you will come across dozens of 5-star reviews and the best album ever comments, and next to them, a sea of ones and trashing. You will come across praise from comedians like Bill Burr, Chris Rock, Anthony Jeselnik, among countless others, and footage of vandalized promotional billboards for its release. The greatest comedy album of all time, or total garbage. Not much in between. To understand what The Day the Laughter Died is, we have to start a little bit earlier. Andrew Clay Silverstein began his career at the end of the 70s in Brooklyn. His material at that point consisted almost entirely of impressions. Jerry Lewis' Nutty Professor, Travolta in Saturday Night Fever, or Sylvester Stallone. By the 1980s, he had moved to Los Angeles and started to perform at the legendary Comedy Store. Legend has it that asked to fill in for another comic, Andrew didn't have his costumes and other stuff used so far for his impressions. He was tired of them anyway at this point. He needed something new, something exciting. And the Dice Man was born. A wise guy from Brooklyn with a foul mouth and a special interest in nursery rhymes.
Little Miss Muffet sat on a tuffet, eating her curds and whey. Long came a Spidey, sat down beside, he said, "Hey, what's in the bowl, bitch?"
What started as one of the characters quickly dominated his whole act, to the point when he adopted the moniker Andrew Dice Clay. The line between Andrew Silverstein and Diceman got really blurry. He adopted his stage persona fully, and he had a decent career with it. Not everybody got his act, some thought it was just crude and stupid, up until 1997 and the Rodney Dangerfield's HBO special, where his 7-minute set, composed in large part of vulgar parodies of nursery rhymes, skyrocketed his career to national stardom.
Little Miss Muffet sat on a tuffet, eating her curds and whey. Long came a Spidey, sat down beside, he said, "Hey, what's in the bowl, bitch?"
By the way, the next comic on the stage in this special is young Bill Hicks. This contrast is really something. From then on, everything went really fast. His debut album Dice went gold after selling over 500,000 copies. His performance at the MTV Video Music Awards led to a lifetime ban on performing on the station. He leaned more and more into touchy subjects, which went as expected with some of his fans and mainly the press. Accusations of misogyny, homophobia, and even racism became a fixed point in his media coverage. He worked at the time with one somewhat known music producer. This is how he recalls their first meeting. So the guy is like low-key, he's like, "I'd like to speak to you for a minute." And I'm like, "Yeah, what? I got another show. You know, I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have patience for these Californian tofu-eating assholes." So the guy standing next to me looks at the guy and he goes, "Aren't you Rick Rubin?" I look at this guy and I go, "Who is he? Who is he?" "He created rap. Run DMC. Walk This Way." He says, "Yes, I am." Because Rick's very respectful and soft-spoken. And I wound up doing 5 or 6 albums with him. Although the characterization of Rick Rubin is somewhat exaggerated, which is so on brand for Dice, there is no doubt that Rubin is one of the most influential, legendary music producers. Even at the time, he had already worked on groundbreaking projects with LL Cool J, Beastie Boys, Run DMC, but also on different parts of the music spectrum with Danzig and Slayer. In the future, countless legendary albums and artists will come. Red Hot Chili Peppers, System of a Down, Jay-Z or Johnny Cash, just to name a few. Depending on who you ask, you will be given a different answer about who came up with the rather unusual concept for an album. Rubin described it to Rolling Stone. "We laughed the hardest at the shows where the audience didn't like Dice. It was just so funny and combative, like performance art. He would say these horrible, hateful things, and if you say something horrible and hateful and everybody laughs, it's a joke. But if you say something horrible and hateful and nobody laughs, it's kind of scary. It's really a weird feeling." So at the height of his popularity, we had the idea we'd put him in front of a small audience that just didn't like him. It was really counter to what he usually did, so anti his real career. It was very bold of him to do it. Dice also had some justification for the way the album was made. The concept was the ultimate late night set. And I had a lot of trouble with it before even I put it out, because there was basically really not much of an audience. I did it at Dangerfield, New York, because when you are doing a concert, you got to entertain thousands of people, alright? And I'm not really into that. I'd rather just be with a few friends and crack them up. So we set up to do this album. I go on, do 2-3 hours at the club. I didn't work on any material for this album. Dangerfields, which gave Dice fame just a few years earlier, was a legendary, the longest running comedy club in New York. Sadly, it closed in 2020 due to financial problems caused by lockdown. But even in the 18th and 19th, this famous place was known to be poorly attended, often with just a handful of audience members at any given time. At the taping of The Day the Laughter Died, there were, depending on the source, from 200 to only 20 people there, probably somewhere in between, at least at the start. The consensus on the headcount at the end of the show seems to be more clear: 11 people. Although it was stayed through at least 2 nights, precise measurements are impossible. The result was a behemoth of a record. Almost 2 hours of raw, unprepared riffing, almost completely silent at some points and roaring with screams at others. The fact that it's not a regular comedy album is apparent right from the start. So when they bring me on stage, I will just light a cigarette, look at the crowd for a minute or two, and have them captivated, because the thing about comics is if they don't get a laugh within that first 15 to 20 seconds, they're going to a panic. You get insecure. I played off the silence rather than the laughter. So I will stand there and inside I'm laughing, because I go, this is a comedy club and it's silent. There's nothing happening.
It was a nice day.
The farther into runtime we go, the less sense it all makes. Dice bounces from unprepared, overtly vulgar stories focused mainly on sex.
I'm Richard Nixon in that ass. I like your ass. I want to eat your ass. Give me that big fat fucking ass.
More often than not, with no real punchlines. To commenting on the fact that he has no material whatsoever, to straight up insulting an audience.
You're gonna laugh more than you think tonight, pal. I'm gonna create some great stuff for you. Because I don't know the next word out of my fucking mouth. That's the beauty of this act. Do you know that? You know what I'm saying? You don't. It's because you're a jerk-off. That's what I think of you, and by the end of the night, most of the people here will also.
Everything goes and everything stays in. There are no obvious cuts on the album. Every silence, every audience member walking out is recorded and preserved.
The fucking, what are you going? You're gonna go take a dump? Huh?
She's got some sense. She's leaving.
It's a guy, jerk-off. We got a chick jerk-off here, our first of the night. Just listen up, shut your mouth, and pay attention. Maybe you'll do a little better next time. You shut up. You shut your fucking hole. Where did you come from anyway?
You're such a jerk. You are such a jerk.
Exactly. Did you like the Jerko segment? What was it that threw you? The ass eating, I don't know, maybe it was something I said that annoyed him. Have a happy new year. We got him.
A couple of times some audience members would ask for his signature poems and rhymes, what leads to real anger outbursts from Dice.
No rhymes, stupid. If I wanted to do rhymes, I would do it. What do you think, I don't know I do rhymes? I know I do rhymes, but I ain't doing them, right? So why are you asking me? What am I, a fucking puppet on a string? No! So once again, shut your fucking hole!
At a couple of points you will hear one distinctive laugh, sometimes the only laugh in the room. Some sources say that's Rick Rubin himself. Nobody recorded comedy like that back then, and even now almost nobody does that. Greg Turkington, also known as New Hamburger, another quite offbeat and unusual act, recollects. With this Dice record, I was kinda fascinated. You know, that stuff really influenced me, just in terms of being unafraid by audience reaction and just going for it. If you have a certain mood or something that you are trying to put out there, that you just got to do it and not worry or even embrace it. It's just so bold. Sometimes you read reviews of The Day the Laughter Died that are like, there are no jokes at all. There are jokes, it's just, they are not the point of the show.
If I want to do rhymes, I'll do them. This ain't what this show's about. The show's not about laughter. It's about comedy. You don't have to laugh to enjoy it.
Before it came out, Mitzi Shore, the owner of the comedy store, told me, this album is going to destroy your career. There's nothing on it. David Geffen called me and said, alright, I understand the concept, but why does it have to be a double CD? And I said, because nobody's ever done that, especially with no people really. And he said, alright, it's your career. And the album went gold in 4 days. Geffen Records, the label that put out the album, had so little faith in the project that they refused to put the label name anywhere on the album cover or sleeve. The album went to 39th place on the Billboard 200 list. Not a list of comedy albums, mind you, but the main one, just above David Bowie. People were buying it, but the backlash was also huge. The destroyed Billboard that I showed you at the beginning was accompanied by an avalanche of abysmal reviews. There were so many bad ones that when Mark Prindle, a young journalist, published a positive one in some college newspaper, Dice tracked his parents' telephone number and called to thank him personally. We must stop at one particular track, the infamous Our Back.
So look, I've had a great time here tonight. You've been a phenomenal crowd. Good night. Now, you see, that kills it. You know, this could take anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour. Back! Get it? Could be a minute, could be a half hour, or an hour. Back! Get it? Hour back? Call you back in an hour. Back! Get it?
Greg Turkington once again. That's a funny thing about it. The more disgusting, repulsive things that he says are actually kind of the easiest to take. It's when he says "our back" for 50 minutes straight or whatever. That's when you are actually like, what is this? I can't take this. Go back to the ass eating.
So we could do this fast, or we could do it in an hour. Back! Get it? Hour back? Call you in an hour. Back. Get it? Hour back. Get it? Hour back. I'll call you in an hour. I'll get back to you. Hour back. Get it? Hour back.
One of my favorites, Big J Okerson, has a little different point of view. It's so brilliant. Go to Spotify and listen to the track An Hour Back. That's one of the funniest things I ever fucking heard in my life. he just bullies the crowd and he makes up a phrase, an hour back, and he just keeps going. Get it? He says get it like 50 times, and then he goes, you don't even know what you are laughing at. Like he says to them that they are stupid for laughing. He just keeps boring this thing into their heads and they start laughing.
You don't get this bit. Do you think I do? Think about it. I'll wait. Take an hour. Back! Get it! Take a fucking 2 hours!
His next special, Dice Rules, was recorded in part at the after-mentioned shows in Madison Square Garden. And if you have never seen it, do yourself a favor and watch at least a couple of minutes of it. It's crazy. The energy is through the roof. The crowd is in some kind of ecstasy. No wonder one reporter from the New York Times compared it to a Nazi rally.
Little Miss Muffet sat on a tuffet, eating a curds and whey. Along came a Spidey, sat down beside, he said, hey, what's in the bowl, bitch? Oh! Turn the lights on, I want to see this fucking crowd. Let me fucking see you. How you doing up there?
Mind-blowing. That kind of success couldn't last long. By 1993, when the sequel to The Day the Laughter Died premiered, Dice's career was in serious decline. Although he still tours and in recent years has popped up in some high-profile productions as an actor, he never came back to the level of fame and notoriety from his peak. From the year that one of the most bizarre and polarizing, most loved and hated, truly singular experience of an album came out. Was it one big joke or a piece of avant-garde performance art? I myself am not sure what to think of it. I remember that it made a huge impression on me when I heard it for the first time a couple of years ago, and I know that I came back to it. And it moved me to the point that I made this video. So there is something there. Rick Rubin once again. What you hear is a guy saying things that are sometimes funny, sometimes not, but his commitment to how funny he thinks it is and how hard he is selling it to nothing, to no response, is what's so funny. It's like he's so convinced that this is funny. In a way, it's got this existential quality. Of all the Dice albums, it's my favorite.
That's what it's all about. Doesn't matter if it's funny. Doesn't matter if anybody gets it. It's funny. Take all the time you want. Laugh about it tomorrow. Laugh about it in an hour. Back, get it? You laughed again. You don't even know what you're laughing at. I don't know what I'm talking about. You don't know what you're laughing at, but it's fucking funny.
You're funny.
Exactly.
Let's end on a quote from Jim Norton. It's an odd masterpiece. It's beautiful that he did that, because there is a flow to it. But it's the greatest, watching the comic's mind just fucking randomly bounce from joke to bomb to joke, and just really exploring and grabbing for shit.
You are having a great time. Why? I've done everything I can to ruin that time, but yet you're having a great time.
An odd masterpiece, indeed. Have you ever listened to The Day the Laughter Died? Are people still listening to comedy albums? If you have, tell me what you think about it. Was it funny? Could you sit through it? It's a lot, believe me. Also, I want to dedicate this video to an amazing YouTube creator whose stuff I love to watch and who inspired style of this piece. Trash Theory makes these beautiful mini documentaries about British music. If you're a fan of Britpop, Manchester, or just good music in general, check him out. Let's say that it's my way of giving back for hours of great content. A tribute, if you will. Thank you so much for your time. Hope you are doing well. See you in the next one. Stay safe, stay sexy, go fuck yourself. My name is Krzysztof Sawczuk, and this was Stand Up Tech.
That's good. That's good.